For starters, congratulations, Avi Josie. You just won a design prize for this can.
Oh yeah, that was
set
yesterday.
of cans. You want to tell us what Avi Josie is and what that design was for? What was that about?
So Avi Josie is a animation visual effects virtual effects.
It's Comic Exposed for South Africa.
Yeah, it's Comic Exposed for South Africa, and it's a cross-platform sort of meeting of people who are producers, people who are creators. Obviously, Netflix was there, so that was fantastic.
Yeah.
The event happened at University of Joburg, and it was packed, very black.
Packed to the bleachers.
Packed to the bleachers.
Yeah.
And they had a competition running, which was like, yo, how do we embody Joburg? Because it's happening in Joburg.
Wow.
And I've lived there a little bit. Yeah. Everyone thinks I live there. I live here. And every time it's like, oh,
I think every Zimbabwean lives in Joburg.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's like Zimbabwe Extension 1.
Yeah.
And so I designed two. I designed two because I had the time.
Yeah.
One of them which I really like, and the other which actually spoke to the brief.
Okay, great. So just so you get a little bit of context of what he designed, there were soda cans, like the aluminum type of cans, but they were themed with illustrations and graphics that he made based on what Avi Josie was about. So a number of applicants came up with designs, and our very own Bill Masuku won. I only discovered this early in the morning. I got the call.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the other thing that happened yesterday?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Is it legal to talk about it?
It is legal.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead.
It is legal to talk about. Wow, these NDAs are crazy, eh? Mm-hmm. So yesterday it was announced that Kugali and Disney Hyperion, which is the book publishing company, they're working together on a imprint called Kugali Inc.
Yeah.
And there's two books that are coming out in 2025. One is Akani and one is Runeless by me.
Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, that's incredible. So if you looked at our program, that's a great segue. For those of you who haven't gotten our program, we are sponsored by Telco. And you can go online right now. If you go to your phone, access the Telco network. You don't need to put in a password. You'll be online just like that. I know, it's like magic. So, number one, don't ask me for a paper program. It's not 1993. And number two, check out the program on the Comic Exposed page. Telco, amazing partner. Thank you. Moving on.
How is that a segue?
It just
That's an advert.
It's my job. It's my job.
Okay, word. Thank you, Telco, so much. Yeah. I'm on the Wi-Fi. It's pretty good. I'm posting pictures. What else?
No, you were talking about the book.
Yeah,
you're talking about the book. So give us a bit of background. When did you write the book? What's the book about? And then we're going to talk a little bit about personal
brands. We can only say that the book is coming. The rest of the NDA is like, I don't know who's listening. I don't know what snipers are in the building. Yeah. It's going to be a good book. So, I've put my whole foot in it.
Yeah.
It's really a culmination of everything that I've learned so far. Mm-hmm. You know, I started, my first tabling was at Comic Exposed for the first comic book day.
Yeah, in 2016.
In 2016. And since then, like really just learning from other creators, traveling, being able to speak to people who are high in the industry, yourself included.
Thank you.
And like when I made the pitch, I was like, I really, really, really like this story, but I don't think people are going to get it. And a lot of the time, Zimbabweans are not trendsetters, we're trend followers. And so when you come up with something new, like there's that fear that like people aren't going to get this. This is going to remain untitled document number one for a long time. And then there's that little bit of jealousy where it's like, you see a concept of yours on TV, and you thought of this 3 years ago.
Bingo.
And like taking that step forward to say, okay, not everyone will get this, but if the right people get this, it's going to work out.
Wow. No, clap hands. That was deep, like bars. They say bars now.
Bars. And scripts.
So I want to talk a little bit about personal brands, right? That's pretty much the topic of our talk, but I'm interested in it with regards to what you've been doing over the years. How have you managed to make a distinction between Enigma Comics, which was a thing, is a thing, right? And Bill Masuku, and the different services and products that you've put out? I was very interested to see that you've got a range of crackers, like edibles. Like, no.
Not.
Like these are just...
Yeah.
Bush baby.
Consumables.
Chill.
Consumables.
Okay.
Food, snacks.
Exactly.
Edibles is something else.
So we've got the snacks, we've got the books, we've got Enigma Comics, we've got Bill Masuku. How do you make sure that the message of who you are or what you do is clear and consistent?
That is a fantastic question, which I should have an immediate answer for. But the answer is big.
I want to hear the big one. Do you guys want to hear the big answer?
Your prices are also excellent. So can you also include that pricing? One of my problems.
I will.
I like how she doesn't wait for the question.
Nah,
She's got the
it's
potential.
now. It's now.
You need a whiteboard. I'm kidding.
So, for those of you that don't know, I've been making comics since 2016, and everybody who started out, like, let's roll back one sentence. When you were exhibiting at Comic Expos, they had like a training package, and they said you cannot exhibit if you don't have a banner, business cards, Facebook page, and there was one other thing that I keep forgetting, but it was a starter pack, and it was annoying to hear that because it's like I just want to sell my comic, and so they were like, you can't just sell your comic. If you come to a market and that's the first day you start talking to people, you've missed out on pre-sales. You need to put it in people's mind that I'm coming to this event and psychologically I'm putting money aside for A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Because there's a finite amount of money that is floating around at any given time. And to have that branding, the Facebook page, to say, get as many people in your friend group to like this page. If they don't, they don't. But if they do, they do. To create that visibility well before you even start to creating. Like, hey, I'm a comic book artist. This is what I do. Not I'm a graphic designer and I also make comics. You've already kneecapped yourself. By putting your public business over your private business. I'm gonna mute my phone.
That's a great idea.
I didn't think I was popular, but clearly.
Now, ain't nobody know you.
It was an alarm for this talk.
Oh, great. Priorities. We like that. Okay, you were saying?
And so putting all of that like visual messaging well before you start is super important, and it continues to be important.
Yeah.
Regardless of what event you go to. In Zimbabwe, like we all like if you stand at the entrance, everybody's greeting each other. All the creators know each other.
Yeah.
But like once you leave the city, go to Blues, go anywhere else, you are a small fish in a very, very wide universe.
Yeah.
And you have to start telling people about yourself well before.
Yeah.
Your personal messaging in your comics is also important.
Yeah.
So I know that it's not popular across the board, but I tell people that when I'm making Captain South Africa, I'm inspired by the women I went to university with. And that is that's a thing that no one else here can do. Like I have a very personal experience with those people, and I've put that experience into the comic, and I'll continue to tell people I was really inspired by those women.
Yeah.
And that's why Captain South Africa is a woman. Like the decision making in the product is bringing yourself first.
Yeah.
And aside from that, it's okay, so why you? And so that's not just a local comics thing when you're pitching to studios for animation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have this really great concept, but why you? Like we could just buy this off you and get better writers. Why are you the person to tell this story? Having to bring yourself into concepts. Most people will say, oh, it's a self-insert, and that's okay. Bring yourself into your storytelling, because that's what people want to see. Like, is it another African superhero, or is it about Tokoloshi? Because Tokoloshi speaks to something that it was instilled in us, a fear when we were children. And so
that's incredible. And I got a segue. I got another special Eugene segue. You're gonna love this one.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. So Tokoloshi is one of your current books, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. It's outside
It's
right
for
now
sale.
for sale.
For sale.
You see what I
in
did
English
there?
and in
You
Shona.
see what I did there, right? Let's talk
Sponsored
about
by
that.
Telco.
Yeah.
So now, with Tokoloshi Hunters, kids will come up to the table and they'll be like, "This is a cool concept," but they don't feel the fear. And when people over a certain age band, I'm looking at like 25, 25 upwards, the way they react to seeing Tokoloshi Hunters for the first time is different for people who are 24 and below.
Okay.
Because there's a different upbringing.
Yeah.
Like
out of interest, for those who might not know what a Tokoloshi is, for those who might not speak the language, what if you could just briefly define it?
I can't. So you have to buy the book, but it's also a thing of a lot of like African cultures, in particular Southern Africa, when our mythological creatures are mostly shapeshifters.
Yeah.
Like
Changelings,
right?
Yeah.
And when someone asks the question, like, what is a chocolate? The closest things I can think of are like goblin troll thing. And those parallels work for like a short-term conversation, but it doesn't give the stakes because Tokoloshi are very tied to morality, danger, safety. And it's like, there's small things like close the curtain all the way. And that may seem like a silly thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you don't close the curtain all the way, a Tokoloshi will get you.
Uh-huh.
Right? And the real world thing is that people can see into your house and it makes it easier for thieves to plan ahead. Like, there's that real, but they don't tell you that back part.
Yeah.
It's just like, don't go into the forest alone. And if you hear voices, run.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're probably in danger. You're in a part of the forest that you're not supposed to be in. So there's things like that that can only be told word of mouth. And I'm doing my best to try bring pop culture to culture.
Uh-huh. That's amazing. So you mentioned something earlier that I totally agree with about how everyone is closely knit. All the artists in Harare are closely knit. Depending on where you are in the industry, you might be familiar with the Bulawa, your artists, and Mutare and so on. But that's a bit of a privilege, right?
It is.
But I've had a totally different experience with regards to you specifically, in that I could have traveled, or I have traveled as far as, let's say, Cape Town, for example, and I get into a typical conversation because I'm at an event that talks about comic books and video games or whatever that could be. And I mentioned that I'm from Zimbabwe, and then I hear, so you know Bill. So there's something interesting that happens there, because there are scenarios where I bring up Enigma Comics, and then I get the, oh, what is that? Or I bring up Captain South Africa and I get, oh, what is that? But then the name kind of has risen above the services, the brands, and all of that. So since we're talking about personal branding, how are you working towards either unifying that, or is it deliberate? And if so, why?
It's slightly deliberate. So when I got invited to be a guest at Comic-Con Africa the first time, my branding said Enigma Comics.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare to find me, because they were looking for the guest Bill Masuku. Because again, like when you go to Comic-Con, you're not looking for Marvel or DC. You're looking for the people who told your favorite stories, and those people have names.
Yeah.
Bill Masuku told my favorite story. I don't know what that story is, but I want to talk to Bill Masuku.
Precisely.
And so I had to start, creating that delineation between myself and Enigma. So even at the last event, it now says Enigma Comics in brackets and then Bill Masuku.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So what does that do for the business side of what you're trying to achieve? Because in terms of business, you'll find that the business people want to deal with an organization.
True.
As opposed to the fans who want to discover an individual.
True. So it actually goes the other way, like cross multiplying, where people who are looking to buy or bulk buy or acquisition comic books, they will look for Enigma Comics. But someone who's trying to commission me to make their stuff is looking for Bill Masuku.
Excellent. Trevor, how are we doing on time? We're doing great, which means now...
You ain't got to watch. How can we trust him? It was off. He didn't even look, guys. It was like, we're good.
No. It's that Gen Z technology, Bill.
Yes.
That Gen Z technology. So I'm going to open up to the floor and take on a few questions. The scripts and bars guys were chomping at the bit. That young man right at the back, but I prefer the guys in the front because they're not back benches, because you know me, guys, you know me.
Yeah, discrimination.
Let's start. Let's start with this guy. He's a famous chap. He does this thing about stories that no one has told. No, I'll hold it for you. COVID is real.
Am I introducing myself as well?
Since we're talking about personal branding, why not?
Okay, hi guys, my name is Farai Mudzingwa. I am the founder of Story Untold. Thanks, Bill, for the talk. I did want to ask you, when it comes to like research, because your work is spread across like so many different IPs, when it comes to your research, what is your process like?
It's about personal branding. Research is always happening. Whether it's a conversation with people, whether I dedicate, an hour or two to dive into Wikipedia, looking at other articles, or creating the resources myself. What you'll find is that there's no repository of information specifically about African comics. But I and a man from Squid Media. That's wrong. Don't quote me on that. Squid Mag. From Squid Mag have put together a spreadsheet that from Southern, Central, West, North Africa, and it lists out all of the comics. So just having a link to find that, or just even knowing that this region, just at a glance, this region makes more comics than that region, or these ones are just easier to find, and that's in the branding sector. Because like I have nothing on that spreadsheet; it's full, but there's nothing in North Africa, and now there's like that political thing of when you're breaking up the continent, Egypt falls under the Middle East. So like, do you count it as like African?
Oh, they left?
No. I'm sure they're trying. I mean, the continent is splitting, but spoilers. The point is that research is always happening in whatever form. You never know where inspiration is going to come from, and you never know what thing is going to take your story in a new direction.
Amazing. Yo, if you're not wearing a Comics Pose t-shirt, I invite you to sit down. I invite you. You paid for it. You earned it. Enjoy.
There was
the
a
comfy
question.
seat. There you go.
Pricing. Thanks. Hi. My name is Eleni. I'm the owner of Ella the Garden, and I assist artists in their hustle. Your pricing is something that really impressed me. You've got an excellent product, exquisite range, and the pricing is like really accessible. How?
Just to preface, she's shading everyone else who's here, and I'm happy about that. She's like, woo, $10. The pricing is good because I have a designated printer in South Africa in Joburg. I put everybody on Laura at Heartwood. Everyone who makes comic books, you see, he's giving a thumbs up because she really does a really good job of making sure that the quality is high, the paper is good, and then she also like makes recommendations. I wanted to get into board games, and she's like, look at me, Bill, look at me. We had like an hour-long conversation as to why it's a bad idea, and then at the end of it, she gave me a price anyway.
Wow.
So like,
Question, do they ship to Zimbabwe?
yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Don't do that to yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. I hope that answers your question. Awesome.
Give a round of applause to Trevor. He's amazing.
Yeah. Keep walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand. Okay. Yo.
Why are you making him stand and everyone else got to
Right.
sit? Like, you're putting pressure. now if he sits down.
Nah, there's no way I'm gonna sit down. Anyway, I'm Bush Baby X-rated. I'm a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
My question is, when you're making your stories, when you're creating your stories,
Yeah.
do you accept the responsibility
No.
that? Well, then it's answered.
Please
then.
finish your questions.
No, I was saying, do you accept the responsibility that you are actually shaping the psychology of the children because you're basically like their generation's creation of the mythological figures? If I'm saying it right.
No. I get
Oh,
what you're
hell,
saying.
you done started something.
How much time have we got left? How much? You can't just thumbs up. How much?
Let's keep going.
Okay.
I think that's a really interesting question. I think,
fantastic question.
yeah, from back in the day, I think this is something that Tino and I were often kind of confronted with. You know, you always have parents, leaders in education, the general public asking, "Why don't you make?" You can finish off.
No.
Yeah.
You must finish what you started.
Super cringe.
Yeah.
But there is that responsibility, or you feel like it. How do you? We had our ways of doing it. That was a long time ago. That was in 2010, 2009 maybe. We had our ways of doing it. How do you manage that?
I don't manage it. I just let it happen. But I'm aware of it. I'm always thinking not just the mythology, not just the superheroes. It's like your book. Anyone here? Your book might be the first comic book somebody sees. So they don't know how to read it. They don't know about power systems and magic systems. There's a lot that, as creators, absorbed through reading lots and lots of comics. And we try to skip that step because we don't have the time, right? There's like, and you're a hip-hop artist? Yeah, so like the hip-hop culture that was built up in America was decades in the making before we got to the point where it is now, right? It like original hip hop was speaking to particular social issues, but now if you're a social rapper, you're like, you're trying to be Kendrick, right? And so with the comics that we're making, yes, somebody might read this and then their life will be completely changed for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe your writing is garbage, and then that's that about that.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing when you're trying to get somebody into anime. For those of you that do watch anime, for those of you that don't, it's like, I don't know how I feel about anime as in general, because it's all one block to people who are looking from the outside. But there's romance, there's drama, there's historical fiction, there's really deep dives into medical history.
Yeah. It's not as linear as hospital dramas.
It's not as linear. I'm not shading Grey's Anatomy, but it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the first thing that I did was go grab a comic, a medical comic, and the drawings are so detailed. Those are medical diagrams.
Yep.
And if someone is first experience is that, they'll think everything is that. And so like it's important that your first interaction with somebody, because we're mostly sellers, like we're merchants. There's no comic book shop in Zim. You have to tell them there's other comics out there. It's important that we propagate and build up each other. It's like, you've read this, have you read that? Panache is at my table, he's talking about Razor Man. I don't sell Razor Man anymore.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since Razor Man.
I don't sell Razor Man
It's been
anymore.
a minute.
Panache is there. Speak of the devil.
Howdy, Lucifer.
So it's important that we don't just tell people about our stuff. Yes, we want to make sales and tell people about our stuff, but it's more important that we as a community, as Comexposed, as Scripts and Bars, build each other up.
Yeah.
Because if we die and it ends with us, we've failed.
I got dark really fast, but I feel you.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. I'm sorry. There will be others.
In that same light, there's a conversation that constantly follows Captain South Africa, and I think it's related to what Bush Baby asked. It's in the brand, it's in the name of the comic book itself, and the fact that you're Zimbabwean. And I like how you gave a lot of great context to the inspiration for the book. How do you like to explain it in the most open-minded way to people who give you that, you can anticipate that criticism. Why make Captain South Africa when you are infected from Zimbabwe?
Whose character are you emulating?
Let's keep it.
This is personal. So I do get the question a lot. You as a Zimbabwean, I get it from both sides.
Yeah.
You as a Zimbabwean,
why
are you?
Yeah.
Whoa. It feels more xenophobic when they do it.
Yeah. I saw the Springbok tweet the other day. I was like,
Leave me alone. They'll ask me, Bill, as a Zimbabwean, why are you making Captain South Africa? Why not Captain Zimbabwe? The easy answer, which I like trolling people, is that there's already there's two Captain Zimbabwe's.
Yeah.
Like, one made by a Chinese company, and the other, he gave up. It sounds like I'm joking. If you just open Facebook and type in Captain Zimbabwe, you will just be surprised. You will just be surprised as I was.
One made by a Chinese company.
Yeah. One made by it's a local Chinese company.
No,
don't make that face. It's a local Chinese company, and the other one is he doesn't make comics anymore. He's a graphic designer. So there's that thing of, there was a lot of graphic designers that said, we're using the same programs, why not make comics?
Yeah.
So he just hasn't continued the series. I take no ownership for, there's a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is making Razor Man. Thank you for that. And then just on a political level, I try to navigate it case by case basis.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing now, and I told somebody just now, I was like, I'm no longer making Captain South Africa. So, because I want to build the industry. So like I've been saying this whole chat, is that we can't do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Doing it ourselves will burn out. That's why there's a lot of number ones and not a lot of number 10s. Everyone has a great idea and then just doesn't know how much effort goes into continuing to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And without that,
it's the
the
statistics.
The Queen died. English is gone.
They upgraded. They got it.
Without that sustainability of industry, there we go. Without that sustainability of industry, why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
And so I haven't discontinued the series. I've said I want to hire people I want to get a writer, I want to get an artist, I want to get a colorist, and I want to put them on rotation, right? Because Super Strikers used to do that. I don't know whether anyone knows
Clyde Beach and
Super
them.
Strikers.
Yeah.
So Super Strikers was it's a collaborative effort. There was a big company, and a lot of the people who now are guests at Comic-Con who are working for Marvel, DC.
Yeah.
Even Loiso, he's now working for DC. Actually, that whole team has branched off to do different things.
Of
right?
course.
It's because Super Strikers was their foot in the door. It's like, hey, I want to make comics. I don't know how. Here's someone to mentor you how to make it. These are the best practices of industry. We don't do that anymore. What you thought was making comics, no. Also incorporate graphic design. Actually, here's some help. There's like a there's a chain of information.
It's a ripple effect
that only exists if you have people above you.
Yeah.
And I want to do that for other people. Am I going to get you a job at Marvel? No. But it will be your foot in the door if you want to go make all your own comic.
Exactly.
Yes.
Excellent. I was going to close off with questions about sponsorship and how you're navigating brand partnerships. I mean, you're venturing into snacks, and I know you do not know how to bake.
I don't know why I'm getting cooked.
But we are talking about food. So you want to talk about that? What kind of partnerships have you established in order to realize some of these dreams that you have to make snacks and venture off and do books and then venture off and do statistics and research? Like, what kind of partnerships are you leveraging?
That's for the more important people later. Those are the guests who have made it. Us pious about all of that. No, but I have an answer.
Yeah.
So the snacks that I have today are a proof of concept, because when I was telling people, I was telling you earlier, when you pitch something to people and it doesn't exist yet, we're not trendsetters. And so explaining, if you put characters on packets of any snack, then it incentivizes people to buy that because it's bright, it's colorful, and then there's a personal attachment if that character is doing well in comic book, even if they aren't. So I have a trading card game there at my desk if you want to buy it. I only have limited items, so I'm not going to be able to give everybody.
I mean, look at the demand. I mean, the room is explosive right now. You can't hold themselves back.
I have trading cards, and I don't play trading cards. But if you look at Pokemon anything, people got into that brand at different entry points. Some people were on the trading card games. Some people play the Game Boy game. A lot of people watch the anime. Some people watch the live action movie that came out recently on Netflix. And then some people read the comic book. I didn't know there was a comic book until I started doing the research for this.
Wow.
But everybody has a different entry point, and we know that there's branded food for Pokemon. And so it doesn't matter what your entry point is, as long as your brand is visibly strong. And I'm trying to establish a partnership. These packets are selling them here to say, what is the initial experience? Because Tokoloshi Hunters, that the brand that it's attached to, also only came out recently. So what is the consumer connecting with here? And thank you so much for everybody who's had the conversation with me. This is market research that I can take to an actual food brand and be like, this actually works. Also, here's my comic. Also, here are links to everything that I've done to help you get an understanding of how this industry works.
Excellent. So I know a number of people joined us right in the middle. Welcome to Comexposed, everyone. I'm speaking to Bill Masuku. He's a comic book artist, entrepreneur, and many, many other things. Writer, editor, you name it. Bill here has been talking about how to build personal brands, and he's been walking us through his journey with the various titles he's worked on and the various research he's done, and so on. So I'm inviting anyone who's got a question from the past maybe 10 minutes. Trevor, we've got a hand over there. Thank you, good sir.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
My name is Marvel Marufu. I'm an animator. I have an animation studio called Animation Nation Zimbabwe.
Wow. Hello. Let's clap hands for Marvel.
Hi everyone.
That was great.
I have a question with regard to your art journey. I think it's very important as well for the brand. If you can just walk us through or give us a pointers on how to improve your art,
That's
from
a
2016
great
up
question.
to
I was gonna, for the purpose of some people who just came in, and I know there's some guys that we invited here that are fairly new to the comic book business. Do you mind, just walking us through your journey from beginning?
Sure.
Yeah, you can censor it, of course. There's some dark bits in there.
No, I'm not censoring it. I have a book on Amazon if you want the dark bits.
I bought it.
We've got 10 minutes.
let's give it your best shot.
Give it my. Are there any
And
other
save room for some other questions.
Are there
of
any
course.
other quick questions? So I give this the bread.
Soko's got a question. Artelo's got a
see you all
question.
the time.
So
Come
Trevor,
on.
you're taking note of these guys? You're the man. Let's clap hands for Trevor, everybody.
Yeah, Trevor for
Yeah,
walking. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah. Shame on you. Okay, let's go.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marvin Tichangani, also known as Artelo. I'm a digital artist, concept artist, and illustrator. So I have a question.
Yes.
It's very easy for one person to actually get caught up based on the comics that they read. They can easily just fall into a superhero trait of making superhero comics constantly. How do you find a good middle between like what you did with Tokolo Shantas and Camp South Africa, whereby it's political, still African based, but also has like the inspiration from your typical Marvel and DC superhero aspects? Yeah.
Awesome. I'll bake those two questions together.
Well done.
And then
Well done, Artelo. Like that. It's good. Soko right there. Yeah. So you're just gonna come up with a kombucha or
Hi,
an answer.
I'm Soko Matamai, a hip hop artist. I wanted to find out, can we expect to see your comic books being turned into like animated movies or
No.
live action movies?
no.
No. You're not interested?
I mean, this question comes up far too often, and people just don't understand how much money it costs to make an animation.
I think if you put it together with your journey and then you mix it up with the answer for Artelo, you can actually close off with his answer and it'll make perfect sense.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Bill Masuku, for those who don't know me. Go read the brief on the PDF flyer because we don't print anything. It's not 1993 apparently. I don't know why anyone born in 1993 is being shaded.
It's a great year.
So I like most people like drew at home when I was young. I was inspired by cartoons. I was left alone with the maid for too long. While my brothers were at school, parents were at work. Obviously fell in love with Scooby-Doo and SWAT. It's not a dark story. Come on, man. Come on, man.
And you saw it too, didn't you? But anyway, please.
This is my peak. So, and now you've made me break my train of thought. Cartoons.
Survived the
There we go,
domestic
cartoons.
situation.
I didn't survive. I didn't survive a domestic. It's not too much time. I'm here, aren't I? So I obviously watched a lot of cartoons like everybody else. And then at some point, I stumbled upon Joy TV's anime Samurai X. Or Rurouni Kenshin for you weebs. And it changed my entire perspective of cartoons. Because cartoons are supposed to be, at least how I felt, they're supposed to be episodic. That's how they got the name Popeye. It's like 15 minutes of nonsense. If those of you that don't know, I'm a Popeye, because your parents are like, let's put them in front of a TV. It's not going to affect them. There's no real story here, right? But then Samurai X had the first episode I watched, to be continued. What do you mean? We're supposed to wrap up the story in 20 minutes, and we didn't. And I had to wait the next day and the next day. And
Next week.
The next week, Dre TV had like, the episodes were, because clearly piracy was, anyway. So, I was really inspired by that. And obviously I started drawing ninjas and samurai, and that was my weeb awakening. My nerd awakening, nerd awakening for everybody. Obviously watched Sci-Fi Channel on DSTV when I was still there. That's the dark part, because Sci-Fi Channel also had some nonsense.
Skip that part.
I wasn't allowed to draw. My dad is the typical African dad. You have 4 professions that you can be, and being an artist was not one of them. He destroyed and burnt and tore up a lot of my drawings. There was one time I came back from school and there was just a little bonfire in the backyard. It's more traumatic than I'm making it sound, but anyway. He just, like, at any given point, it would just make sure that I was not going to be an artist.
All right.
And I just focused on school. I got an A in maths, obviously, because I studied. Stay in school, for those of you who are 16. I talked to a 16-year-old today. Where are you? There you are. Yeah, stay in school. So, eventually, I let it go for a while. Also because there's no industry here. There's that local thing of, I don't see anyone doing this, and so I'm not inspired to do it. Being the first person to do anything is very scary. Shout out Neil Armstrong. Lance Armstrong? Neil Armstrong. Are they cousins? The guy who, one of them was on Oprah. So, too soon?
Yeah.
So anyway, I eventually went to uni and I started doodling again because my drawings couldn't be burnt because my dad was in Zim. I was in South Africa. But I had spent a long time not drawing and I lost confidence. because there's a momentum to drawing. Like even if you draw all the time as a day job, you skip 2 days, you come back. How do I draw a fish?
Especially, it had to be a fish.
Mid-journey, fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't use Mid-journey. That was a joke.
We got you on record.
No, that's a photo. But that's a video. And so eventually, again, I was inspired by the women I went to university with because there was lots of protests at the time. A lot of must fall movements, a lot of fees must fall, roads must fall. There was a lot of like colonial movements that were happening. And these were championed by strong women who were still getting their education. And I had been doodling Captain South Africa. The first issue, no one will ever see that. It's nonsense because I still can't draw, but I couldn't draw Wesa then. Like, I couldn't draw but one.
Yeah.
So now, he was just a buff man in spandex. Like, what am I bringing to storytelling? This is now I'm segueing into Malo's question.
Yeah.
What am I actually bringing into the zeitgeist of all storytelling?
Narrative,
Yeah.
design.
Like, if someone looks at this and then looks at somebody else's African superhero and somebody else's African superhero, like, we're all just derivatives of Captain America, right? And me more so than anybody else, because my character is literally called Captain South Africa.
Captain something, yeah.
Yeah. Which people hate, by the way. Funny. It gets even funnier just now. 2 seconds.
Let's go.
And because I was inspired by these women, I was like, let me just retcon the first one out of the story. But I was like, no, that's lazy. He goes missing. And I was like, let me reboot the series.
Wow.
And now it starts off 3 years later. It's not like anyone knew about 3 years before. Like, only I have that issue. But 3 years later, he's gone missing and we need a new Captain South Africa. And obviously, I've deeply incorporated those women. It's like, she was, in those 3 years, why wasn't she there? She was getting her degree, guys. Like, she was studying politics.
Stay in school.
Yeah, stay in school. You, 16-year-old, stay in school. I'll continue to cook you.
And at this time, what was what were you doing to enhance your skills? What year was that, roughly?
This was second year for me, 2013.
Wow.
Sure, I gave away my age.
You're
Damn.
young, man.
So anyway, I wasn't doing much to improve my skills because, like, there's very few people actually doing comics visibly.
Okay, and this time you were based in South Africa at the time.
Yes, I was based in
because
South
of
Africa.
varsity.
The couple of people that I knew were doing it were Sector Comics. I
Yes.
collected all their books. I have their books if you want to buy them, like different art styles. Really good, like, spread of what a comic means. None of them are superhero stories. All of them are fantasy, historical, political. So do definitely come and cop a copy.
Yeah.
And then when I suspended my studies, the first thing I did was look for you. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. So the first thing you must do is always arm yourself with knowledge. Like, someone was asking about research, right? Yeah, it's all coming together now, huh? It's all coming together now. Like an Avengers.
Shape the
an
story
Avengers
together,
of
right?
questions.
Yeah, that teamwork. Did you see that?
You got to do your research. And I was like, there's no way I can be the first. Like, it's like, your ego is huge. If you walk into an industry that doesn't exist and you think you're the first, that's nonsense. And so the first thing I did was, LinkedIn, Zimbabwean comic. Oh, Eugene Ramirez. Okay. And so I saw that, like, there's two people who were making comics, Tino and Eugene. And, like, if you're...
What year was that?
No, I'm done exposing my age. So I was looking for Tino and Eugene. And it was... So Tino had the back-to-back...
Gundog and the Gift.
Dog, yeah. And then you had Hot Shots, which I couldn't find. But it was evident that there were people here who were making comics. And so they called us into the Comic Expo's offices when they were still by Greenwood Park.
Yeah.
Damn, Greenwood Park.
So it was a vibe. That's
It
what
was a vibe.
the kids
It
say.
was a vibe.
It's a vibe, right?
There was a time you go to the Comic Expo's office and it was popping. And I was like, when does Tino get work done? Like, we're always here just making noise and trading anime illegally. So, Japanese government don't be here. So now... after that, after interacting with, obviously mentors of the industry, interacting with, James was my contemporary. He was also making comics.
James is amazing.
Yeah, James is amazing. He's over there as DigiArt. He's a superhero guy. If you want Zimbabwean superheroes in space, in the future-ish, he's there.
Yep.
He's there. I've read every issue he's ever put out.
Side note, if you want to meet a real-life Zimbabwean superhero, make sure you look for James.
Yeah.
You'll get what I mean when you talk to him.
Yeah, that was a tired round of applause. But
y'all better do that again now.
No.
That was inspiration. That was my Thelma moment. I'm taking it.
We've got 3 minutes. We've got 3
kidding, I'm
minutes.
kidding.
And so I made Razor Man, which was like a Zimbabwean superhero, kind of. It was.
This
more
was
of
the birth of Enigma Comics,
This
right?
was the birth of Enigma Comics, right? After all of the training you gave us, make a banner, etc. And then 2017, we don't talk about 2017. Spoilers. Come to my table, buy things, and I'll tell you about 2017. And then 2018, it was a lot of self-doubt because, again, I hadn't been drawing for years, and everyone else here is either trained as an artist, gone to art school, or literally trained by Eugene here, Dan. And it was just like, my art will never compare to these guys. Like, I'm a good writer. Clearly, people are buying the books. They continue to buy the books. But my art is not where American comics are, because there's always that benchmark of reference to be like, if you're making something, who is the best practitioner in the industry? If you want to make a car, obviously look at the people who are making cars the best in the world.
I think that it's important for me to share something at that point. So when I first met Bill, it was very apparent that he'd been out of practice, but his stories were really good. And I remember reading through some of the material, and I know he wouldn't want to say this up here, but I love calling myself out. I was like, look, Bill, your stories are great, but you might want to shelve the art and write normal books, like regular books. And I know at the time he wasn't ready for that. You remember that conversation?
I remember that conversation is here.
But you know what? The interesting part is he went on and improved on the artwork. He stuck with everything, and now he's doing both. He's got, traditional books, and he's working on comics. So either way, he took the advice.
Yeah, I did take the advice.
Wait, Disney's publishing a book, isn't it?
No, Disney's publishing a graphic novel. I'm writing it.
So
eventually we came full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
I like that. That's my Selma moment. That's it.
Finally.
Yeah.
Skip.
I think we're heading over to Soko's question, answering Soko's question now.
What even was Soko's
question? The animation and so on.
The animation. Nah, my G. When you get into this industry, it's very easy to be like, oh, you make comics. Why don't you just
make a movie?
So to make a comic book, right? I recently did the numbers because I'm trying to pass on Captain South Africa. At minimum, and this is paying these people not a lot of money. Like, I'm just like, as a favor, here's some cash. It's about 52,000 rand, right? Which that's a pretty penny for a team of like 3. That's before printing, that's before distribution, that's before all of the overheads, that's before anything else. Right?
Wow.
And to make an animation, I was recently at Avi Josie. It's all tying together. At Avi Josie, I was watching some pitches done. One of them by Lola, good friend of mine.
Hey,
I can say that
Lola Adkins is amazing. Yes.
I can say that now because I've met Lola. When Lola pitched her 10-minute movie, so that's 10 minutes of animation by a studio that worked on Primal.
Hidden Hand
Studios. They worked on Primal and something, it doesn't matter, for time's sake. They worked on something international. It costs $233,000 for 10 minutes of animation.
Yeah. Look it up. It's called Lesedi.
Yeah.
Neledi.
Yeah.
I'm not South African. Forgive me.
We will
just cut that
fix
out.
it in post.
Don't worry,
I guess. I don't know. ChatGPT it.
I know the editor.
Yeah. So if you look at if $230,000 for 10 minutes is the thing, asking us all the time, when is the series coming? Give us the money to make it. We'll happily make it. We've got the skills. But like the oh man. And like, who's an animator here, sir? There we go.
It's Malvin, right?
Yes. Hey. Please go talk to him about how much it costs to make anything. When executives and people who are like business people want adverts and they think, oh, animation will be popping, give us your budget, and you give them the budget, they ghost you. Because it's like they're not realistic about how much money goes into this piece of work. And so it's either we cut corners, give you a shoddy job, or you pay us full price, and it's internationally amazing. And when you give people the money, who's next? Who's the next speaker, Pius?
No, we're gonna go into a short screening. But on that note, Bill is finish your point. Go for it. Make it hot.
When you give people the money, you get something like Kizazimoto.
Yeah.
You get something so high quality that Disney Plus is just shelving into the world, and it's Zimbabwean. People are flying in Ruseros. It's proudly
unapologetic.
Thank you. And unapologetically Zimbabwean and amazing. Anyway, that's my time.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could keep him all day. Let's give Bill a round of applause.